Sorry I didn't show you more of this build. To me, when I do wiring, it's like a little jigsaw puzzle, little diagrams and stuff going on. But let me show you what we've got now. And remember, this is a small 7 amp hour battery that will connect to the Garmin fish finder. So there's very little current, very little going on here. It'll drain the battery very slowly. It's not a big battery. The battery is lithium. So this is a plastic ammo box that's actually made by a fishing company, Plano. And I have 2 switches and a voltage meter. And if I flip this, it tells me the voltage of the battery. And I wanted to be able to turn this off because I know it's just a trickle drain, but I didn't want to have to disconnect the battery every time in order to get this to turn off. Then we have a connector on the side here that will go to 2 things. If it's not plugged in to the fish finder, it'll be unplugged and plugged into a small 1 amp charger. And it is a small battery cable, as you can maybe see there. Right now, I have it hooked up to a small test indicator for AC or DC, and it's working. So this will provide power to the fish finder. When I plug the battery charger in it, it will charge the battery as long as this switch is on. This is just a cutoff switch of the battery. So we have a voltage, and we have battery providing power, doubling as an input for the charger to charge the battery. Now, let me show you the inside. Whenever you do wiring, it always ends up with a lot of wires. So, here it is. There's the small battery, the wire that goes out to the connector, the switch to turn the voltage indicator on and off, and the switch to turn the battery on and off. And both of these switches have screw-on rubber caps so that they are waterproof toggle switches. And I have a very thin bead of silicone around the bottom edges of these before I put them on. And at the same time in the boat, you've got to have a place for boat registrations and our senior lifetime licenses that my wife and I have for fishing. And this Plano box has room in it right here for that. And the Plano box is relatively waterproof, but I always keep that stuff in a Ziploc bag anyway, and it'll be there in case a game warden should ever ask us for it, which they haven't done since I was a kid when I didn't need a license. Everyone who fishes and uses a trolling motor for their fish finder know that there's a lot of glitchy interference on the screen when you do that. So the reason that we have a separate battery for the fish finder is that a battery always produces pretty much the purest DC current you can get. If you look like on an oscilloscope, it's a flat line. AC current is a sine wave, and a lot of stuff doesn't like AC current. Even the electronics we use, we plug them into the wall, but there's electronics in there, inverters, to convert it to DC current. And it can be difficult to do, to get that pure straight line as opposed to the sine wave. But it manages it, turns it into 5 or 12 volts for most electronics. An electric trolling motor is a coil of wire that's magnetized, spinning around an armature when you apply power to it. But when it does that, there are brushes usually, and as it flips from negative to positive and positive to negative, that makes it go around, it produces a residual alternating current. Alternating current to electronics is dirty. And it gets into the system and shows up on a very sensitive piece of equipment like a fish finder. So that the fish finder is looking for pure DC coming from the battery, and almost everything that you can use, it wouldn't bother it. But the fish finder is sensitive, and that residual AC current gets through, and it's almost like an interference. It's producing a dirty signal, and you see it as little glitches on the screen, and it can be very annoying and make the fish finder not work very good or at all. So we need a pure DC voltage separate from the motors, which can dirty the signal. That's why we have a small battery for the fish finder. The fish finder doesn't take a whole lot of current, so a small battery like this will last quite a while between charges. Okay, you can see this online in various videos, so this is nothing new. This is a clothesline retractor. It's got 49 feet of cord in it, which is probably not that good for an anchor rope, but I do have the 650-pound draw paracord, 9-ply paracord, and I am going to attach it to this clothesline cord, and then I will cut off the excess afterwards and then let it draw it in. Okay, this is a stitch used in fly tying, and I'm thinking it's going to work on here too. So we're making some progress here. I'm just about ready to tie it off. Drop of super glue to hold it. Fixative to lock it in. And cut. Now, I haven't cut the white cord yet here because I didn't want it to go up inside the thing and lose it. So I think that's going to be okay. So let's go and cut this. Now, what I've got here is 2 sets of stitches, and there are 3 places that the needle went right through both of them to kind of lock it in. And I don't think that's going to leave. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this go in quite a bit. And I am going to mark this with a Sharpie, so that when I see this mark, I will know that's really as far out as I want to let it go, because I want to leave a few wrappings inside the reel. I don't want it to hit that point. Okay, I think that's about as much as she's going to take. I decided to use lock nuts here. I really don't need to move it, so using the knobs would just be a waste. Interesting design. Lift, and you can let it down, drop it, and it locks. I chose an orange line so I can see where the heck it is in the water. Well, 2 things accomplished today, and I think that's all of it. I got this retractor with the mushroom anchor deployed here. And it seems to be working pretty good. It did come with this package of very colorful clothespins though, so I don't know if I have any place for those. And I got the fish finder temporarily hooked up. I'm waiting on a connector that'll come with the battery charger for the small battery. But I just got notified that they couldn't make it in today because of the snow, so maybe tomorrow. But I kind of hot wired the fish finder using some leads with alligator clips, and it's working good. I haven't used it in over 2 years, but it turned on and worked good with the battery. So let's take a quick look at everything that was done here. We set the boat up with the seats, and they seem to be pretty nice. We got the 202 amp lithium battery pack put in, and we have it connected with an Anderson connector. We have here the switch for the motor up front and all the wiring done with a circuit breaker, fuses, and so forth. We have a switch box that so far has 5 switches on it. The first 2 do the lights. The first one is for the headlights. The second one is for the running lights. And right now I have the last one connected for the bilge pump, which will just take water from that depression in the back of the boat and pump it out. I have yet to take and put an elbow down here that comes up and goes up over here. Got to pick up a couple of elbows. And we have the 46-pound trolling motor mounted, along with safety chain for the motor, and it'll also be clipped to the battery up here. We made the drift suppressor that retracts, and by turning this knob, loosens it or tightens it so it doesn't move after you put it down or put it up. On the other side of the boat, there's the same sort of mechanism for the transducer for the Garmin fish finder. We mounted the Scotty pole holder on this side, and I am a fisherman that holds the pole with the left hand, so the pole comes off the right, so I'm always facing in this direction. So the pole needs to be here, the fish finder needs to be here, and the switches, even though they're in the back and I won't use them much, are also on this side. We made the battery box for the fish finder to keep it isolated and separate. We hooked up the 46-pound trolling motor on the front, turned the head around so the propeller is facing the right way, got the headlights mounted along with the running lights, another headlight over there. We mounted the T-track along the length of both sides of the boat so we can put things on and slide them a little bit here or there should we need to. And of course, like we just talked about, we got the anchor rope, retractable anchor rope with a Scotty anchor rope deployment. Little 5-pound mushroom anchor, which should be enough. We made some decorative and hopefully useful dock ropes that have clasps that come off on the sides. There's one on this side, and there's one on this side. We have a cable here for pulling the boat because I'm planning on moving it up into a boathouse, but it's a 2-foot lift to go up a wall to get to the boathouse. The boathouse isn't right in the water. And I'm planning on building a sort of a dolly with wheels to pull it up, and I have a small winch that I'm going to mount in the front of the boathouse on the inside because I'd like to put this inside every time I use it. And if I can do it so it takes 5 minutes to do it, it'll be worth it. What I have left to do is to remove all of this stuff that's removable, tip it on the side, the boat, and slide it out a door. Once I get it outside, there is a bimini that I need to install using these brackets that I made on the side of the boat, right about here, I'd say, and also near the back, where probably right about here where the poles would go, the back poles. The bimini will angle up this way. It'll also fold all the way back down, but mostly it'll be back at about a 45 and retract forward 6 feet from wherever I have the back end of it, which will probably be right about here. So when it's up, the canopy, the top of the canopy should go from the back of the boat to about here, over it. But as you can see, the ceiling isn't much different from where the seat height is, so I have to wait till I can get it outside to do that. So there it is, ready to go. The only problem is the weather isn't. It was spring through most of February and part of March, and now winter is back. Go figure. Thank you for watching this and the other videos in this series, if you did. This build is pretty much done, minus a little battery charger I have to hook up to the Garmin fish finder. The next thing I have to do, like I said, is take everything off, drag it outside, get the bimini mounted, and then I need to move it down to the water and build the track system to pull it into the boathouse. But it looks like I'm going to have plenty of time to do that. The water is still about 32 to 36 degrees, so it's still winter here in Maine, even though it's officially spring. Like and subscribe if you would, please. Thanks for watching.